It's a new week, which means new loops. This is what we're working with this week. Feel free to sample it however you'd like. Regardless, I'm going to be using it for our weekly jam session. Now, for this week, I wanted to do something that was a little bit synth inspired, kind of Tron inspired as well. I just watched the trailer for Tron Ares, and I thought it was really cool. I'm really excited to see what Nine Inch Nails can do on their soundtrack. So from watching that, I decided why not make a video that is related to synths and just doing loops and kind of a synth wave-esque sound. Now, we already heard how it sounded in the loop as its final version, but let's take a step back and listen how that sound kind of evolved as I was finding what I wanted to use for this loop. Now, the great thing with this synth and a lot of other synths is that you can change a lot of things on the fly. By making small adjustments, you can start to alter the sound and create some more variation and really give a unique kind of play. As you're recording, it makes it feel like it's evolving even when you're playing something that's repetitive, just by making these small adjustments. And this is something I really like because as a musician, I want to make something that doesn't feel too repetitive, even if it is the same loop. And I want it to feel like it has depth and some character to it, which is really easy to do when I'm able to adjust all these things on the fly. But how can we do this if we don't have any hardware? How can we do this if we're only using our keyboard? Or how can we do this if we're only on the DAW? There are a lot of different ways to do it, and the biggest thing is that it just takes time. But first, let's start with getting a little chord progression wrote down. Now, I'm going to do it on this keyboard that I use, which is just my keyboard itself. It's my Apple keyboard. I can write it in, or I can play the notes myself. If I decide to write it in, I'm going to adjust some of the velocities and the timing so that it feels more humanized, and it feels like a natural kind of playthrough with those slight different variations in it. With that out of the way, now we're actually going to get to what I think is the most fun part, which is going to be adding effects and adding automation. Now, with the effects, you can really do as many as you want. The biggest thing when you're adding these is to look at the context of the song. If we're adding a distortion or something that's really driving, are we at the part of the song, a pre-chorus maybe, or a chorus where we want it to feel more amped up? Versus if we're adding a reverb, are we at a bridge or an outro where we want it to kind of feel washed away? Just by kind of taking a step back and thinking about where we want these effects to take place, we can start to develop more characteristics in our sound and give it kind of a different feel as we're hearing that loop being played over and over. Now, once you have those effects, now we can start doing automation. Now, by using automation, we can start to make something that emulates us playing live and changing these parameters, even though we aren't able to in the first initial recording. We can start changing some of the pitch. We can change the velocities. We can have effects coming in and out at different times. We can stack them on top of each other and blend them and make them more wet or dry, really involving the sound and changing and making it feel like it's not just stagnant. Now, there isn't really a wrong or right way to do this kind of automation. What we really want to do is just pay attention, again, to the context of what we're listening to and to the piece that we're working on. Now I'm going to add it to another one, and you can already hear the kind of vast difference that is taking place from it. Now let's add those two together and blend them and see how we can create something new. Just by doing stuff like this, that's really simple, we're able to develop a little bit more of what we're making, and I think has a little bit more character. And what I really like about this method is by using these multiple sounds, stacking them together, having a repetitive loop that is changing its tonal characteristics. You have something that feels very repetitive and familiar to the listener, but isn't as stagnant or static when you're listening to it. There are parts where we naturally feel like it's going up with the song and slowing down, and it's something that we're able to kind of acknowledge subconsciously, and I think it really helps kind of create a better feeling and understanding for what's happening in the music. Now, whatever you decide to do, whether that be just recording your loop and using that, or adding a bunch of different automations, the biggest thing to remember is that we don't want our listener to get bored, and we don't want them to feel like our song is too repetitive. So by adding small different variations, it can help. This is just another method to help add different variations. Just like we did in our previous video with stacking, it's just something to help give your sound a little bit more oomph to it. And not every single automation change has to be as drastic as this. It can be as simple as just adding dynamics of going louder and quieter in different parts with a sound that can really help influence how we perceive it and how we feel the song is moving in a certain direction. Now, once again, my name is Enrique from One Take Recording, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are able to come back and watch the jam session that we do this Saturday using the loop that we made. Thank you so much for watching.